Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're here because you want to start with acrylic pouring or because you want to see some more opinions on how it's done, then welcome, and I hope you enjoy it, because for me the most important thing on this channel is to spread some knowledge. So before you start, or even if you still wonder about a few things, please educate yourself, then you know how things work, specifically why they work, and you can make up your own opinion about things that happen with your art. I mean, you wouldn't bake a cake and throw in salt, sugar, milk, water and whatever. You would figure out that you add sugar and eggs, and why. So that's the same thing I always keep preaching here. So if you have been here before, I just keep repeating that. Some longer videos, I'm gonna link the basic knowledge playlist in the description, and I think it's really important. So some things I only gonna mention shortly here. So the core factor in acrylic pouring is really the consistency. There is no magic recipe, there is no magic ingredient, no special type of silicone. That's not really the core of it. There is personal preferences, things will look different eventually, or things like that, but there are a few things that are really the core things of it. So you see here glue, varnish, Floetrol, medium, Liquitex, pouring medium, all these kind of things, and that's are all options you can use as a pouring medium. But at the end you will see a lot of people tell you need to use 50-50, you need to do a ratio 3-2, etc, etc. I'm sorry to say, but at the end, what your medium should do purely is stabilize your pigment connection. You don't want to lose your paint's pigment connection, because then it breaks up and it all gets all fuzzy, or it doesn't look good when it dries, or it cracks up later in light, or all kinds of weird things. But necessary is basically only 30%, so you can use 30% to paint no matter which pouring medium you use. Sure, a few of them will look different. So glue is purely a binder, so if you add water you need additional binder, that's kind of glue. Varnish has an additional polymer. Floetrol is a little bit different, and that's why people swear on it, but the only different and why it feels different is that it is a conditioner. And a conditioner is a binder plus something that makes it very smooth, increases the opening time, etc. So that's why the feels of the paint is a little bit different, but it's used the same way. Liquitex pouring medium also is a little bit different, because it's very expensive but also very nice. It has a gloss in it, so the paints will not dull out, what is normally happening with glue or Floetrol, but so that's totally normal. You will eventually varnish if you don't like that. But yeah, you can see they're all the same, 30% to paint and you're good to go. And I'm going to show you now how the consistency should look like, because if you don't have that right, nothing will work out. The second most important part is the amount of paint that you're gonna use. If you have too little, you have to stretch it too much, you will get ziggy-zaggy, your cells break up, etc. It will not work, or it will not be pretty, let's say it like that. And also another thing comes with experience eventually, is how you tilt it so slowly, in which direction, not left or right, or left or up and down again too often. So that comes with experience. So the key factor now is paint mixing. I thought of showing it to you with a little bit blue, because I hope that will be most visible on the video. You see, I store my paints in little pots. That's perfectly fine. They can stay there a really long time, up to several months. Don't add your silicone in there yet. Close them up, and you can also keep them in little bottles, little pots. You just need to have a lid on it. Okay, so let's start. What you can also do, of course, I don't want to confuse you, because you add pouring medium and water. I always make a big canister, bottle full of pouring medium plus water, so then I don't even, so I have pouring medium and water in one, and I put that into the paint and mix up. And then I don't even need to do the little by little water thing. But yeah, that's also something that comes with experience. So let's start with the basic. There's different type of paints. This is more like a craft paint level, but that doesn't change the ratio. It only changes how soft it will get with how much water. A heavy body can take much more water. A fluid, basically none. You don't need any additional to get the right consistency. So a little bit of paint, and I'm gonna use Floetrol now because I have that open. And like I said, you could do all the recipes that you hear and see and whatever, but basically 30–40% is perfectly good. I also think it's really a question of, it gets very expensive if you use so much Floetrol, to be honest, or so much glue. So mix it in, really do that thoroughly. So now with adding binder, you stabilize the pigment connection, and that means you can add additional water without them breaking. Okay, I do it a little bit quicker. Normally you take your time and you relax and listen to some music or something. So now it's like this. You don't want that. The water you add, you should do a little bit by little bit, because if it's too thin, it's very difficult to get it back a little bit thicker. You can actually only add paint, and that takes very long to stir it in, etc. So it's a little bit of a process. That's why storing is a good thing. A lot of people like that mixing. I don't really. You check it in between. It starts now to come off the stick, but not really convinced yet. So add some more. We get a little bit closer now. It starts to run off the stick, but it's still more like drops and not like a stream. So more water to go. But now be careful with the water, because we're starting to get close. So if you see now the paint, it starts to run off the stick in a little stream, really. And when you look against the light, you will, yeah, of course I'm tilting it now, you will see that there is a little pile on the stick, so it's not completely running off. It runs off in the stream. It has a little mountain on it. It leaves a few, 1, 2, 3 drops when you hold it vertical, so a stream, a few drops, a mountain, and that already looks like the right consistency. Also, what is an easy test is when you drop it, it should not make a mountain on the paint anymore. So it should not stay on here and then only sink down. It should immediately disappear. If it just disappears really down into the paint, then you're eventually too thin. But yeah, so you have 4 factors how you can check if your paint is right. Lift it up again, let it stream. Oh yeah, I have a mountain. I have 1, 2, 3 drops until it stops. And the paint disappears into the paint. So that's basically already it. If you reuse it after you store it, you might need to check it again, because of course it might thicken up. And if you're unsure, an extra, if you make a painting, it looks better if it's a tiny bit on the thin side than on the thick side. But yeah, so that's that. I hope you liked this and it helped you. Again, please have a look at the basic knowledge playlist. There's about what all the conditioners and binders do, how paint works, how the 4 basic techniques look like. There's also a shopping list, etc. So yeah, come back and I hope to see you back soon.